In this video, we're going to talk about periods of sine and cosine functions. The period of sinusoidal function is the distance between any two sets of repeating points on the graph of the function. In other words, the period is the distance of one cycle. That is a period. And when you have A, B, C, D, in order to find the period, it is 2 pi over absolute value of B. When we have y equals sine of x, A is 1. And what is the number in front of x? It's 1. So B is 1 as well, because y equals A sine of bx plus c plus d. This is a sinusoidal for sine, and the coefficient of sine x is 1. That's why A is 1. And coefficient of x is 1. So what is the period for sine of x? The period is going to be 2 pi divided by absolute value of b, which is 1. So it's 2 pi. That's why one cycle of sine went from 0 to 2 pi to 4 pi, and so forth. Also, for y equals cosine of x, what is A? A is 1, and B is also 1. That's why the period for cosine of x is 2 pi over absolute value of 1, which is going to be 2 pi. So for sine of x and cosine of x, the period is 2 pi. So period changes depending on what the value of b is. So let's try to graph g of x equals cosine of x over 3. What is A? A is 1. And what is b? B is the coefficient of x, which is 1 over 3. So the amplitude is absolute value of 1, which is 1. What about period? Period is 2 pi divided by absolute value of b, which is absolute value of 1 over 3, and that becomes 6 pi. So period for this, cosine of x over 3, is 6 pi. Remember, period for cosine of x is 2 pi, so this has a longer period compared to cosine of x. Now, in order to sketch this, we need to break period into 4 parts. So let's divide 6 pi by 4. You're going to get 3 pi over 2. Now, notice why this is so useful when you want to graph cosine of x over 3. So this is 0, and we're going to go 3 pi over 2. And you need to add another 3 pi over 2, so you get 6 pi over 2. And you add another 3 pi over 2, you get 9 pi over 2. And 12 pi over 2. Of course, instead of 6 pi over 2, you could put 3 pi. Instead of 12 pi over 2, you could put 6 pi. Now the amplitude is 1, so you're going to go all the way up to 1 and all the way down to negative 1. So this is a cosine, so you want to start over here and then come to the middle, go down, and then come back to the middle and go all the way up. So now we are going to draw a smooth curve of cosine. So this is a one cycle of cosine of x over 3. Now let's use our graphing calculator to compare cosine of x over 3 with cosine of x. So I have cosine of x as my blue or white one, cosine of quantity x over 3 as y2 or the red graph. So let's graph this. Make sure you use zoom trig if your graph doesn't look nice. Now notice, we went from 0 0 to 6 pi, because there was a period for cosine of x over 3. And x scale is 3 pi over 2. And let's just leave the y min and y max alone and see what happens. Let's graph. So here is a one cycle of cosine of x over 3. But notice what happens to cosine of x. You have 1, 2, 3 cycles. It makes sense because for cosine x, period was 2 pi. But this is going from 0 to 6 pi. So there will be 3 cosine x when there is only one cycle of cosine of x over 3. Now let's try to graph g of x equals sine of 3x and compare this with sine of x. So what is a here? A is 1 and b is 3. So the amplitude is absolute value of 1, which is 1. And the period is going to be 2 pi over absolute value of 3, which is 2 pi over 3. Now, in order to sketch this, we need to divide 2 pi over 3 by 4, which is the same thing as 2 pi over 3 times 1 over 4, which will be pi over 6. So now, in order to sketch that, you know that the amplitude is 1, so it goes all the way up to 1 and goes down all the way down to -1. So it's 0, pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, and 4 pi over 6. And this is a sine, so you want to start from the middle, go up, back to middle, go down, back to middle. And you draw a smooth curve to draw sine of 3x. And that is a one cycle. This is a one cycle of sine of 3x. Now notice, sine x has a period of 2 pi. So period of sine of 3x is much shorter than the period of sine of x. So let's graph sine x and sine 3 of x. Let's go to zoom, trig for number 7. So you get that. The blue is a sine of x and the red is sine of 3x. And let's change the window. Let's go from 0 to 2 pi over 3 because there was a period for sine of 3x. X scale, let's make it as pi over 6. So as you can see, this is a one cycle of sine of 3x. And notice what's happening to sine of x. You don't even get to see a full cycle of sine of x. Now, let me change the window to x minimum is 0, x max as 2 pi, because that is a period for sine x. See what happens? When you get a one cycle of sine x, look how many cycles you get. You get 1, 2, 3. Looks like you get about 3 cycles of sine of 3x.